Malcolm, bless him, is too captivated to fall for her bait. He calms her anxieties by promising not to inform his father about this Jacobite business. Nonetheless, he begs her to flee before his friends, a group of red coats, surge in. The British soldiers seek to apprehend Rob Roy MacGregor, the actual mastermind behind the Grant livestock raid. However, they then extend their arrest warrant to the many Jacobite conspirators in the room, each of whom has committed treason against the crown. Brian, sensing Ellen's peril, shoots a bullet into the floorboards as a diversion, and the crowd goes insane. Brian sprints out into the courtyard, grabbing Ellen's hand and swinging her into his waiting arms. This is in full daylight, mind you. In the very middle of a pursuit sequence. Dougal, as anybody except Brian might have expected, observes the brazen PDA and decides to punch the young Fraser. It's surprising Brian's jaw is still intact after this episode. The MacKenzie war leader then yanks his sister onto his horse and motions for Murtagh to follow them. Instead of fleeing with Brian, Murtagh chooses to carry out Dougal's commands. It's another setback for an already struggling Brian. For the time being, all of our favorite characters have safely returned home. However, the secrets are virtually spilling out of the woodwork at this point. Mrs. Fitz eventually discovers a piece of Fraser tartan among Ellen's possessions, which is terrible. She misidentifies the tartan as Murtagh's rather than Brian's, and when she concludes that Murtagh and Ellen were recently handfasted, Ellen fails to correct her. "Hide it well," Mrs. Fitz orders, "and we will not speak of it again." However, their agreement will soon be tested. When Colum calls for his sister, Ellen walks directly into an ambush. Henry has arrived on behalf of the Grants, and he has an unpleasant demand to make of Lady MacKenzie. Due to fresh accusations about Ellen's promiscuity, courtesy of Simon Fraser himself, according to Balloch, who heard Murtagh and Brian arguing about Ellen earlier in the episode, the Grants are now looking for confirmation of Ellen's virginity. They'll administer a virginity test, which is as intrusive, and harmful to her, as it sounds. "I am sorry," Henry adds, but his apologies aren't going to help Ellen much. When Brian returns to Leathers, Simon compliments him for seducing Ellen. "I'm proud of you," Simon says to his son, maybe for the first time in Brian's life. Horrified, the latter understands he has unintentionally played into his father's hands. By sleeping with Ellen in episode 5, he may have trapped them both. He isn't the only one caught up in this. In the 20th century, Henry attempts to flee the Grant service after concluding that the only way ahead is to reunite with his surviving child Claire. First, he returns to the brothel and informs the sex worker, Seema, that they're Jacobites and chasteberries. Ned finds out that Henry's hunt for Julia is over before he departs. Ned is sorry. Henry intends to break away from Clan Grant. He is skilled at permanently vanishing, the stones. They split up. As Ned leaves, Arch walks in, saying that they have to confront Rob and hold him accountable for taking their cows. Henry says he needs to take care of business first. Ellen eventually makes it to the Nairne household. She invites Margaret and her husband to the wedding after engaging in a lengthy conversation with her. Margaret is aware that Ellen is there for a different purpose, though. Ellen explains that she thinks her brother is present. Dougal, Sam Retford, greets Brian outside. Dougal and Murtagh get along well. Murtagh asserts that Brian is a cousin who lives far away. Rob Roy MacGregor is also introduced to Brian. Like Brian, Rob observes that he is an outsider. Julia approaches Davina for help elsewhere. Lovat wants to have sex with them. Julia intends to utilize her monk pepper, also known as chasteberry, to add flavor to Lovat's cuisine. He will become impotent as a result. Davina is on board. The two women started laughing uncontrollably. "I'm happy that these two have become buddies." Ellen locates Dougal before the Jacobite gathering begins. He's obviously confused to see his sister here. Ellen claims that she is there to fetch Colum home on his behalf. The MacKenzies will not look good if they collude with the Jacobites. To Caledonia. To Caledonia. Ellen locates Dougal before the Jacobite gathering begins. He's obviously confused to see his sister here. Ellen claims that she is there to fetch Colum home on his behalf. The MacKenzies will not look good if they collude with the Jacobites. Rob speaks to the audience. Ellen sees Brian. Their eyes meet. Brian seems like the epitome of a puppy that is desperate to find affection. There is also Marcus MacRannoch, Dominic Fraser, who occasionally adds commentary. The party decides that the time has come to overthrow the Hanoverian government and reinstate Stuart authority. Dougal gives MacKenzie some cash to assist pay for the impending uprising. Men are shown displaying a large chest. Ellen chastises Dougal for making a financial offer without getting Colum's consent. Henry inquires as to whether he left Julia's jewelry in Seema's room. Seema gives it back to him. She implores Henry to bring her along. In the hopes that it may help, he hands her a bag of coins. Henry says he has lost a lot of things over this period, including his wife and child. In addition, he needs to return to Claire, who is in need of him. He walks away. Seema is crying. I brought several friends. A bonny girl in the conference then diverts Dougal's attention. He orders Murtagh to stay with Ellen while he follows said lass into another room. Ellen inquires as to whether Murtagh is a Jacobite. Murtagh maintains that he promised.